Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a moment here. Just want to make sure people have a chance to get their audio preferences settled before we begin. That looks like a pretty good critical mass and enough time to get things settled. I'll make sure that I type this out for people that are coming a little bit later, but hello and welcome. Before we get started, I just want to cover a few technical details in case you haven't joined us for an ACRA webinar in the past. We're using Zoom webinar, which is very similar to Zoom meeting, but with a couple key differences. The first is, as you probably noticed, is that your cameras and mics are disabled by default. So you've got two main ways of interacting with each other and with our panelists today. The first is through chat, and chat is great for just regular discussion comments with each other or with us. Just make sure if you want everyone to see your comment that you select everyone from the drop down there. Otherwise, only we, John and I, will see it. If you have any questions related to what's being asked, feel free to pop those in at any time in the Q&A section. You can ask those questions anonymously, and you can view existing questions as well as add your own comments or even like them, give them a thumbs up. We'll take those questions as they come up, if it makes sense to, given the flow of the presentation. Otherwise, we'll save them till the end during our Q&A session. So with that, I once again want to welcome you to today's session, Simplified Transfer, Transferology and TES, brought to you in partnership with CollegeSource. Joining us today is John Panzica, Product Solution Specialist with CollegeSource, and he's going to talk about those great tools we just mentioned, transfer to the Transferology and the Transfer Evaluation System, or TES, that can help you simplify your transfer processes. So John, you can take it away.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so we're going to start off with a brief PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll move into a live demo. I just wanted to give you some background information here as we begin. And first of all, I'd like to just give you a little more background on myself as well, for those of you who may have never attended one of our sessions or haven't heard any of these types of presentations before. My name is John Panzica. I'm a product solution specialist with CollegeSource. I joined CollegeSource just about 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago now. And prior to that, I spent 25 plus years in higher education, in enrollment services, enrollment management, financial aid, records, admissions. I coached, I taught in the classroom. So a lot of experience within the higher education landscape as well. So I should say, in the interest of full disclosure, that the last 3 institutions I worked at used and continue to use TES to this day, and that I joined CollegeSource to help launch Transferology. So kind of versed in both of these from a client perspective as well as from the company perspective as well. Transferology and TES work really well together. They also do work standalone. So if you like one of these products versus the other, you can certainly use one or the other, or both. If you are using both, you can take full advantage of your transfer outreach components as well as the transfer evaluation components. TES has a database of more than 135 million course descriptions and over 165,000 catalogs, which really make that evaluation effective, much more effective that way. So, all right, let's go ahead and progress. Transferology is, we call it a national network simply because currently only US institutions are participating. However, students are accessing Transferology from all over the world. And with a push of a button, the students can see a list of institutions that may accept their previously taken courses, standardized tests, and or military training. If your institution is looking for a better way to capture those transfer students, over 3 million potential transfer students have used the tool since its inception. This is just, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I won't go through all of these statistics in too great of detail, but if you look at that map, you can tell that transferology is being utilized fairly significantly all through the US. The yellow stars represent institutions that are currently participating. The green dots represent student usage. The darker the green, the more student usage. So you can see on the West Coast and the Eastern Seaboard, all through the Midwest, quite a number of students that are participating, even in the areas where you can see that the institutions may not be fully participating. So still lots of opportunity with respect to that. Over 26 million equivalencies stored in Transferology as of now that students are able to see, and students have brought in coursework from um, thousands of different institutions. In terms of tests, internally we refer to it as tests. It's also one of the three-letter acronyms that I've heard the most different pronunciation of. So there's TES, there's TES, there's TES, there's TES. Some folks say the transfer evaluation system. Internally, we just call it TES. And it is, again, and provides access to over 130 million course descriptions. All of those are in the same place, and all of those are in the same format, which is probably the most powerful feature. You're not searching other schools' websites, trying to find their catalogs, trying to find archived catalogs potentially, and then decipher what's in their course descriptions. In TEST, there's a consistent presentation of that information. We do have complete catalogs, so if you needed to see academic policy information or program requirements, or you just need to refresh your FERPA statement, you want to see what people have, you can access all of that. Of course, we did, CollegeSource also just released, just within the last year in coordination with ACRO, a policy database. So if you're looking for those types of things, that might be an easier place to look for it. But you do have access to complete catalogs. There's more than just course information. You can look at institution profiles and accreditations and those kinds of things. So you can answer those big picture questions about whether or not to accept credit from a particular school or a particular program. A number of customized reports, some that allow you to maintain your equivalencies, and others that help you proactively identify new equivalencies. It's accessed remotely. Both of these tools are fully hosted on Amazon Web Services Cloud, so they are available to you 24/7, 365, and very user-friendly from that perspective. Again, the major benefits are the faster access to those course descriptions. You can create and manage your equivalencies in TEST, so that gives you some evaluation and maintenance tools that you won't find anywhere else. There is a built-in evaluation tracker, so there's a workflow that's included with tests that you can use to facilitate the evaluation of credit if you have to send those out to the academic departments for the subject matter experts. If you store equivalencies, there's a quick and easy way to display those online, and it really does produce a significant time savings and an improvement in efficiency in the evaluation process. So we're going to jump into a live demo here. My intent here is to take you sort of through a day in the life kind of scenario. So I'll start off with Transferology with a student's perspective, look at the staff perspective of that same tool, and then move into TEST as the evaluation tool. If you do have any questions that come up following our presentation today, certainly feel free to reach out to me directly, John P, JOHNP @collegesource.com. We do also have a help beacon that hovers over all of our pages, all of our web pages, including the product web pages. And you can use those as well if you do end up with a question and can't remember my email address at the time. You can just jump through that, the help, Transferology help or TEST help beacon, and ask those questions there as well. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our live demo. As I mentioned, I'm going to start off with Transferology. Transferology, we do provide students with free accounts. They're never charged. We don't solicit them. We don't sell the lists or anything like that. And one of the things that we have done with the student side is we did implement a Recaptcha Verification just to make sure that we're not getting hit with denial of service attacks or any of those types of things. Students can create their own account. All it requires is a first name, last name, and email. We don't validate those, so a student could join anonymously based on that information, although if they want to reach out to a school and have you connect back with them, it's to their benefit to have a legitimate email address, obviously. We'll go ahead and log in here. I'm going to log in with a profile that I've already created, so I don't take the time to build all these courses in front of you. But you can see that you can bring in courses from multiple institutions, multiple terms, multiple departments. I think the limit here, we did have one student that kind of pushed the limits up to about 120 courses. Obviously, that wouldn't be typical, but it is fairly robust as well. You can see the feedback hover here and the help hover as well. This is that help beacon that I mentioned earlier. And a quick help in the tool itself, when students first log in, they see this overlay, which kind of gives them an idea of what to do, when to do that, what you're looking for. And we have had very, very few instances of students just not knowing how to interact with the website. So the majority of students taking a look at this are able to interact fairly easily. There are two paths. I'm going to go to the replacement course path following a quick demo on the transfer pathway as we look forward to this in terms of looking at how the student might work through this. So there are courses, and the schools in this list are going to come from our underlying test database. So we have over 7,300 different institutions and organizations represented in tests, and all of those, most of those are available here in Transferology as well. The one caveat here is that you do need to type at least a portion of the name, fully type it out. We don't support abbreviations or anything like that. So the student does have to start to type out the full name. I always encourage students to type in the part of the name that would be the most unique. So instead of doing community college, of which there are thousands, if we just type in Rhode Island, you can see that there are a handful of schools that have that term in their name. And we're going to simulate a student taking some math courses at the Community College of Rhode Island. Let's say that they took those in the fall of 2019. And why are we putting in terms here? It's first of all, it is self-reported. Second of all, if you do have effective dated equivalencies, Transferology will honor those effective dates and just show the student what they are eligible for based on the term that they took it. And we did say they would be math, so let's just start typing out math. If you do the department abbreviation or the department title, those are going to be provided to you there. And then these are the list of courses from that particular data set, from that particular catalog year at that institution. So if we come down here and say, let's say that the student took a college algebra course, and maybe we're looking also at a calculus, maybe calculus 1 and calculus 2. Obviously, they probably would not have done those all in the same term, although the community college does have a math lab option for students, and they can take them at their own pace. So it is not beyond the realm of possibility. It is just highly unlikely. So again, the student could change the terms that they took that to simulate their own transcript. Obviously, as you saw here, no grade entry. It would be self-reported. It would not be validated. I haven't found an institution yet, in talking with institutions across the country over 35 years, that will accept the student's word that they passed the course and what grade they received. So you will ultimately require most likely an official transcript before you transfer this credit. The student can also choose standardized exams. You can see the list of standardized exams, and then they can also add military credit courses and occupations as well from the ACE guide. So all of those are available to the student in terms of what they can select as far as their academic past is concerned. And then here's where it kind of changes for the student. This is what Transferology does for a student. Above and beyond what they would think of typically, maybe a transfer student is going to look at 3 to 5 schools that they might want to transfer. in this result, you can see they could potentially get hundreds of results of schools that they may be able to transfer to with a hierarchy of percentage match. Now, as an institution, you can filter this list down to your own institution. If it's a state organization that's purchasing for a state system, they can filter down to a state. But there's no way to get higher up in this list. There's no way to buy your way up in this list other than defining more equivalencies. The students do have lots of different things they can do. They can change the sort. They can filter on distance, state, tuition and fee amount, undergrad, school type, and year. They can select favorite. So if you notice these little stars here, they could favorite an institution and then filter by those favorites. They can pick by an online school only. We only have a designation of fully online versus not fully online. So if you do offer online programs and on-campus programs, you would just be in the regular list. They can choose the programs, and then they can also search for a program that's offered on your campus. So again, the students have these accounts are offered to them for free, and they don't have any time limit or feature limit. In order for schools to appear in this list of results, you would participate, you would subscribe to Transferology. I'm going to just filter down to favorite so I can get to the one I want to show you, which is Winona State. Obviously not the highest in terms of the list, but it does have a good selection of the different types of things that a student may see. So here you can see right off the top, we've got some matches. These are your defined equivalencies. These are the courses that will very likely transfer in as those courses. Obviously, that's dependent upon whether or not they successfully pass those. So there is a statement to that, and then also depends upon major. Just because the course would transfer, if that transfer course doesn't apply to a major, they may not get this credit. So we try to mitigate their expectations right up front there. You can see here a couple one-to-one equivalencies. The third equivalency is to a pseudo course or placeholder course, what we call at CollegeSource, we call those user-added courses. So this is an elect 3T star indicator, and there's a little information icon here which will tell them more information about that, so that you can kind of circumvent or supersede those questions that they may have, because many of us might have looked at that right away and understood that it was a 300 level elective, but most students aren't going to recognize that. They may even go look in the catalog for that course, and they will not find it typically in the catalog. So nice feature there to be able to add those notes. You can also see the Merrimack equivalency is a many-to-one. So in Transferology, you can manage one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many equivalencies and deliver that information. I'd want to draw your attention just quickly to this equivalency here, Gen Chem 141 to Chem 208. The reason I want to show that is you can see there's an equivalency, but when we go to look at the misses, there are two different categories of misses that we potentially provide to the student. The first one is if they were to take Chemistry 141 and 161, they would get Chemistry 210. Remember, 141 was Chemistry 208. For those of you that have inquiring minds and want to know, 208 is just Intro to Gen Chem for non-science majors, and Chem 210 is Intro to Gen Chem for science majors at Winona State. So the program of interest would obviously determine which way would be best for them to go. 208 is also a prerequisite or allows them into 210. So if they did get credit for 141 and wanted to take 210, they could do that without placement testing or those types of things. The additional courses required miss does not draw down the percentage match. It does not transfer will. This is a defined course that you say will not transfer. So you've looked at it, you've determined it will not transfer. In this case, Winona has indicated that English 004 from Merrimack is a remedial course and will not count towards graduation. So again, the ability to provide notations and those kinds of things really help the student understand all of that. The maybe list are the courses that the institution has not evaluated. So we're not going to tell the student that they will transfer because they haven't been evaluated, but we don't want to tell them that they will not transfer because you might take a look at these and evaluate them for transfer. And so you can see that information here. These are those maybes. And then if a student had taken a course at your institution, put it into their profile, and then searched your institution for matches, it could potentially be displayed here on the taken here. If we want to take a quick peek at the request for information, I'm not going to follow through with this. This is a live demo, and Winona State doesn't need me cluttering up their transfer recruiting, but this is the kind of thing that a student could share with them. They could ask for advising information or campus visit or admission, veterans, or program. If they enter a program, we do not validate against your offered programs because we want you to get this request no matter what they put in there. We don't want you to miss it because they didn't type it correctly or because you don't have that program. We want you to be able to see that. They can also customize the message here. So if they do have any more information that they want to understand about, they can ask those questions there, and then that can be sent. I'm not going to send that one right now. What I am going to do though is just move back here for a moment and show you the looking for a particular school option here. So if we do have the look for a particular school, students can actually go through and intentionally identify a school that they want to try to transfer to. Now, my institution is a fictitious institution here, just for demonstration purposes. It's not available. It's not going to be live to the students to see that, but we'll go ahead and see the matches here. And when the student looks at those matches, they could have potentially one of three different responses. They could see the matches, misses, maybes, and taken heres that we just saw. They could see this message which says there are no defined equivalencies, but the school participates, or they could get a message that the school does not participate. And that way they'd have to reach out to you directly. We'll go ahead and follow through with this request so that we can see that. We'll just make a simple request here for that information. You can see that that has been sent to my institution now as a participating institution. Just going to quickly show you the replacement course path. The replacement course path are for those your students that want to find courses that will satisfy requirements to transfer back to your own, their home institution. Obviously, this time of year is a significant time for this as students evaluate what they need in order to stay on track or catch back up or get ahead. And they determine where they're going to be in the summertime, and they need this information within the next several weeks potentially, which is fine because you don't have anything else going on campus right now, right? You don't have summer and fall registration open, rooming summer courses, still cleaning up graduation requirements from December grads, all sorts of things going on. So if you can have your students help themselves with the defined equivalencies, particularly if you have a pre-approval process that the student has to go through, this is a really great tool. Now, I've again simulated a quick sample here. In order to select the school that they want to find courses from, you have to participate. And then this time in the results, it could be anything. So what I've done is I've got an accounting course, a couple sequential history courses, and a math course, since every student thinks they can take math easier someplace else. And again, here you can see almost 1,000 results, starting with matches that are up to all of those matches. If we go through a few pages here, it might take a couple pages to get to some that don't have all the matches. Of course, they could also filter by a particular school. But let's say the student is going to is from New Hampshire and they want to go to Plymouth State. 3 of those courses, math, history, accounting, or again, the math course, they could take different math equivalencies. There's no match for the Western Civ, the second Western Civ course, or the first Western Civ course that's been currently identified from Plymouth State. So the second Western Civ is available, but the first has not been evaluated. So again, that's a nice tool for your students so that they can help themselves find those courses that they wanted to transfer back to your institution to satisfy those requirements. Let's take a look now into the staff account. The staff account is called Transferology Lab. This is the staff side of Transferology. And this offers you the opportunity to interact with those students as well as gather a lot of other information. My CollegeSource University, I live in Minnesota, so this is my campus here in Minnesota. If you believe that, these are the administrative buildings. Those are the dorms in the back there, and all the classes are held out on the beach. I was just talking with Mike earlier. We are lucky today. We're at 20 degrees today. It's really warm for this time of year. It was -10 yesterday. So having said that, let's take a look at this. I'm going to start with the recruit list, even though it's kind of down a little further in the menu here. And let's go. I need to switch back to my institution. I was idle, so it switched to a different institution. There we go. And we can clear any of the filters, and you can see the requests that have been made. And here's the one that we just made. So if we click on either the name of the student or the request, we're going to be able to see all the information that they provided there. So that's going to pop up in a separate window. If we do click on the name of the student, we get to see the courses that are currently in their profile. And we can view the matches, so we can see what the students saw when they were looking at their matches. Again, you can see I do have matches to a couple of the courses, but intentionally, I am not live, so students can't actually select me when they are out using Transferology for real. But this is a neat tool, just in terms of, let's say that you have something that looks like this. I have a 15% match with the student, but the student had a 73% match with UC Denver, and maybe I have a really great transfer relationship with UC Denver. So I could use this to look at how they're accepting courses, and that could help inform me on better ways to articulate the students' courses that they have. If we go into that student coursework, again, we can see the two different tabs, 2 matches and 11 maybes. So these are the ones that are not matched. Now, like I said, you can use Transferology all by itself, but if you also happen to be using TES, you can activate or implement test mode, and then I would be able to push these courses into TES for evaluation. Whether you're using the evaluation tracker or not, you are able to push those in just so that you know, hey, we've got to take a look at these. They can also be linked. So this would not be necessarily an appropriate link to say that you have to take college algebra and calculus to get my transfer. But if this were a lab science lecture and lab that were 2 different courses, then you would be able to link those together to create the evaluation of the combined coursework. Let's go ahead and send that to TES here. You can see that those they failed because the equivalency already exists. I just took them out yet before this time frame. So they would normally, let's go back to pull in that third one, because I know I didn't ever create an equivalency to Calculus 2, just so you can see that go through successfully. So that is a successful push into TES for that course. A couple other things here just quickly. Course bundles is a really great tool from the staff perspective to be able to create profiles that simulate the student profile rather than using a student account. If you use a student account and you wanted to use this to counsel multiple students, you'd have to clear out these profiles every time you wanted to build a new one for a student. In the course bundles in Transferology Lab, you have unlimited bundles that you can create. So you can create any bundles that you like. They can be a student, they can be a transfer pathway. So if you have common transfer pathways, you can simulate those. These can be copied, they can be shared, you can run the matches off of these. So this is a really great tool for the staff. The only thing you can't do in the staff side that you can do in the student side is request information from another school, which you wouldn't be doing. You're using this to counsel your own students. The next thing that we'll also take a look at here is I did just want to quickly show you the program pathways. So you can build, if you have pathways, those can also be displayed or built here. They're actually going to be built under the pathway management piece here. So you can upload PDF versions of your transfer path. We have chosen the term pathway. You, again, may have different terms for those. Articulation agreements, 2+2s, transfer guides, those can be uploaded. Or if you're using TES and you use the group and group reports feature in TES, those can come over here automatically. You still have the ability to keep them hidden from students or reveal them to students, but they'll come in here automatically so that you do have that choice. Two other things I want to just show you here quickly, and then we'll jump into TES. Obviously, this is just a brief overview of these two different products. If you do have any concerns or you want more in-depth information, certainly you can connect with us and we can get you that information. What I'd like to show you here, though, is the popular courses report. A bit of a misnomer. What this is these are all of the courses that students have in Transferology as of right now. So these are all the student profiles. If you ever were thinking, hey, I wonder what courses from XYZ university a student is looking to bring in, you don't have to look at a catalog and try to guess what the gen ed courses are that might be the most transferable or what the program courses are that they might be interested in. This is real data that students have. Now it does default to the last 30 days and your home state. I'm going to take a chance here and try to clear the state filter and see if this runs. This is a live query, so when we are in live demonstrations like this, I always run the risk of not being able to run this query effectively, but there we go, we did it. So in the last 30 days across the entire spectrum of the locations that Transferology includes, students have added over 105,000 courses. And you can see AP is at the top of the list here. In some cases, over 300 students have that same course in their profile. And then you would be able to see at a glance whether or not you have a defined equivalency for that. So here you can see I do have a defined equivalency to AP 93. It's art history. So that's going to be in there. And you can see this is a breakdown of when the students actually pulled those in. So if you are looking at this and you're saying, maybe you're an institution in Ohio and you think for sure I have English 1100 from Columbus State, you can actually see is the reason this is showing up is because they are asking for that course outside of your age limit if you have an age limit. So if you have effective date ranges on your equivalencies, there is a potential that the students are bringing those in from outside of those date ranges. And again, if this is a great way to identify courses that you need to evaluate, and then you can also push those into TES if you needed to. Now, this is a little bit of a misleading. We do have the College Board collection is in TES. It's just not connected into Transferology at the moment. But as you can see, from the student side, they can pull those in from the student side, and then if you have those defined equivalencies, it will show them. The next one is the unknown equivalencies. These are your maybes. So let me just clear the filter here. These are those maybes. So if we go back in, remember when we looked at the matches, see if this is still filtered by my favorites. Yep, and we go into Winona, and you have this list of maybes. You get those whether the student requests information or not. So these are all of the maybes that in this case, my own profile, I've clicked into CollegeSource University, and these are all maybes. Once again, I do have the ability to switch to test mode and push those into test mode if we wanted to. Or if we just take a look at this, you can also look at these and say, maybe I will never evaluate that. And so you can just click it off as marked reviewed, and it'll drop off of this list. So some really nice proactive tools to allow you to create equivalencies based on some of the student activity that we see in the tool, again, from either all of the courses that are in there or the maybes for students that are looking at your profile before they send a transcript to you, before they request information from you. You can make those available. And there's a number of things that you can set up here. So again, with that profile that we saw, you do have the ability to edit your profile, add about text, add information links, add the degrees that you award, update your information as far as location and head count and those kinds of things. All of that can be added. General information is going to allow you to configure how Transferology gets your equivalencies and so forth. There's a number of contact emails that you can set up. There's location information, again, that I just mentioned, and you can establish your users. Users can have any one of or any combination of up to 8 different user roles here. So you can see that you do have the ability to add staff and add staff in the role that they would perform at your institution. Let's move into tests here. We've got just about 20 minutes left, or maybe 10 minutes, depending on how soon you want to get out of here. So let's just take a quick overview of this. Again, in TES, you are able to establish your users. There are 6 different user rights in TES, so you can manage the profile of the folks that you are using that need to use the tool. If you decide to store your equivalencies, those are going to be stored here in TES by institution. If you wanted to use the evaluation tracker, those are going to be stored here through the workflow. Let's just take a quick peek. Community College of Rhode Island will pull those up. I want to show you that Calculus 2. You can see that that came in by way of Transferology. If I then wanted to send that out for evaluation, I could assign that to an evaluator. I could simply make the decision or make the choice myself if that would be effective there. So you'd be able to see that information available to you here as far as that. Searching for courses, let's say here again, we want to search for the Community College of Rhode Island. In TES, you can search by abbreviations. Depending on how much you put in or how little you put in, you could find a number of different results. Let me just quickly also show you. I'll put in ASU for Arizona State. You can see there are multiple options here. But what I did want to show you is we also will give you an indicator of whether there is a shared catalog across multiple campuses. So you would be able to see those types of things within the just the pure search feature here as well. Let's go back to CCRI so that we can pull up what we're looking at quickly. A profile, so this shows you official contact information, institution type, degree level, calendar system, head count, Carnegie class, up to 4 different identifier IDs, and then accreditation information, institutional accreditation, program accreditation. If you're a 4-year institution and you have partnership accreditations, those will show here as well. We can also have a direct link to the website. So if you did need to visit the institution's website for any reason, you could go straight to their website through that link rather than having to guess or to search for that. And then the third icon is a key. If the head of that key is gold, we have a transcript key for the institution. And in some cases, we have multiple transcripts for the institution, transcript keys. This would be the legend or the backing sheet or the transcript key, just predominantly showing you the grade codes that you might see on the front of this. But then it's also going to show you potentially show you repeat policies, forgiveness policies, maybe a FERPA statement, anything that might be on the back of the transcript. Quick question here, can we also use this for international coursework? We do have over 20,000 international catalogs in TES. You can search by non-US schools, or you can use an optional search here to search by country. It's not quite as comprehensive as the catalogs that we have for US domestic institutions. But you can see here, a list by country if you want. The DS stands for data set, and I'll show you what that means here in just a moment. The PDF is the full catalog, so you can see at a glance whether or not we do have data in TES for those institutions. And if we do, you can certainly manage your equivalencies to those institutions. If we don't, there is a user added feature. We saw the example of the elective credit. That would be an example of home data, but you can also add your own transfer data. So if we do not have a data set for a particular institution, you can build it yourself. So for example, if you see courses on a transcript that are not in a catalog, you can build those so that you can manage them. If you have an international institution and we do not have data for them, you can build that so that you can manage it here in TES. So that is possible for you to manage equivalencies to international schools as well. If there is a catalog, whether it's international or US domestic, that you do not see the catalog information in TES for, certainly let us know and we'll do our best to try to get it, because if we can get it, everybody using TES can use it. If we can't, you can still manage it with that process. Let's go back in here again to CCRI. There's a question in the chat about cost. The cost is based on headcount. There is a cost to use TES. There is a cost to use Transferology. They're based on your institutional headcount. And you just reach out after the session today for that information. We can get you a quote. Again, so let's go ahead and say we have that simulation of the fall of 2019 course. Now, if I'm looking at a transcript, let's say I want to go into the math courses and I just want to create an equivalency to college algebra, I can click on that course. I saw that on the transcript, hit view, and this is what all of your course descriptions are going to look like, more or less. Some institutions embed prerequisites in the description, others pull them out. Some courses don't have prerequisites, some courses have co-requisites, others don't. So this is the overall format that you're going to be looking at. You'll be able to see those fairly easily. College algebra is probably a fairly standard course, but if you were brand new to your program or you just didn't know whether there is information here, we have an EQ search that you can go through and search for the potential matching courses in your own catalog. And then if we go in here and I don't have an equivalency and I have the authority just to create an equivalency, I can very quickly pull that course forward, drop into my own catalogs. Maybe I want to simulate fall of 2019 myself, go into math. I have some of those user added. Let's say we're going to equate this to math in context 1, math in context 2, and logarithmic and exponential functions. We have our math or college algebra course at CollegeSource University is broken into 3 components. And we can go ahead and preview that. If I do need to make any kind of effective date, maybe I do have a 5-year age limit on my math courses. So maybe I say that. Maybe I need a public note on this to kind of describe why it's 3 different courses. Maybe I need a private note to have that kind of behind the scenes. And it just that easily, I've created an equivalency to that course. And then what we'll take a look at here just quickly is, let's say that I then wanted to have an evaluation of that. I don't need to go all the way back there, sorry. I do need to go back to the institution in Course Finder. So I will go all the way back here. Let's go to CCRI again, an evaluation of the calculus course. Let's go to fall of 2019. We'll select the math department again. And let's look at that Calculus 1 course, Math 2141, and view that. And let's say in this case, I need to send this out for evaluation. Maybe I don't have the authority to create this equivalency. Maybe I don't have the authority to create any equivalencies. There are 3 evaluation tools, so to speak, in TES. Least efficient, we can print this out. You can print it out, send it into your office to your evaluator, and wait for that to come back. You can email this directly from TES. That would be slightly more efficient. And then what I would always encourage you to do, not just because I work for CollegeSource, but we implemented this at the last institution I worked at, is the built-in evaluation tracker workflow. So I'm going to send this out for evaluation. Now, I would also encourage you, and this is not necessarily the views of CollegeSource being expressed, so I want you to understand this is my personal opinion. I would always encourage you to send a proposed equivalency because that's going to necessarily expedite it. If the evaluator looks at it and says, yes, that's correct, they just have to approve it, send it back. Your students get served that much more quickly. They can change it if they don't like it. They can reject it if they don't like it at all. So those are still options for them, but I would always send a proposed equivalency. Having said that, I want you to see what it looks like if we don't. So I'm just going to send that course to evaluation. I'm going to send this to my math evaluator. Now, one of the things that we can do here is in the profile, there's a title in the user profile. And if you are interested in the evaluation workflow, I would encourage you to add a department reference into that title. Email alert is best practice. Obviously, Blaise Pascal is not going to answer my email, so I won't put it in there, but that would be best practice. You could also put in comments. You can also attach files. So if we take a look at this and attach a file here, see where my window pops up. There we go. So let's look at my course outlines, and we'll do, this is the 2141. Let's go ahead and attach that outline. As long as it's a PDF format and as long as it's less than 4 meg, you can attach it. All of the features that we're looking at here, storing equivalencies, using the workflow, ultimately, if we have some time, I'll show you the public view. Those are all included with TES. TES is a single subscription. All the features are available, whether you choose to take advantage of them or not is completely up to you. So TES is a single subscription. If you're subscribing to TES today, you do have access to all these features that we're looking at. Let me just quickly create that task. It's now assigned to my math department chair. Let's go ahead and log out, log in as my math department chair. I don't have it in this one, so let's do and log in. And here you can see that my math department chair has actually set up his My Evaluation queue as his default landing page. So if you do have evaluators and what they're using TES simply to evaluate courses, you can make it one step easier. Now, it's not hard to get there. This is the default login, and you just go to My Evaluations. But if you can save that one step every time you log in, that you're just improving efficiency. Let's go to the Community College of Rhode Island choice. Here's that Math 2141. Here, you're going to get a log that tracks every step of the way as well. Here's that support file just available right there right in the window. You don't have to go out to email or someplace else. There's a course history. We selected this from 2019, 2020, but what does that course look like since then? Has it significantly changed? Maybe, probably not on a math course, although a lot of trend lately in terms of improving the college level, also known as transfer level coursework, gateway courses for developmental students as well, where you're adding on components or you're adding support for them. So some of these typical courses may be changing just a little bit as you go forward. But if you have an age limit or if you have effective dating policies on campus, that course history is a click away. Think about how much time it would take to aggregate this list if you were just looking at the school's website and having to find archive catalogs, find the department, find the course, maybe copy and paste that into an email or a document. There's also a department sequence. So here, if we go, those 3 calculus courses were all the way down at the bottom of the sequence, if you remember. So there's the one we're looking at, Calculus 1. Calculus 1 having the information there. Now, it's not showing a prerequisite. There's obviously going to be a prerequisite for calculus. And you would be able to go kind of through this and see what those prerequisite courses look like right available here in the department sequence. So really nice resources there. The evaluator also has access to the institutional profile, to the website, and to the transcript key if you attach an unofficial transcript, for example. and they're not quite sure what the grades mean. Some of the actions they can take, they can deny it, not the right subject, not the right level, doesn't include a lab, or not the right sequence. They can also give you their own reason. They can ask for more information. We attached an outline, but maybe you just send the course and just wait for those that want the outline to ask. We can reassign this. So if it does need to go to a faculty member who then has to send it to a chair, who then has to send it to a dean or provost, that is also possible. Add edit course, we'll come right back to that one. Add edit support file, if the student initiates this evaluation with the faculty member and they have the outline, they can attach it. Let's go to add edit courses. Again, let's say that my institutional policy is to simulate the same year as the student took the course. We'll come into this calculus, and then we'll find that this is going to be, let's say that this one is, which calculus are we looking at here? Calculus for physical sciences. And then if we scroll down here, one of the other things that I've added, kind of a long list, is a general ed competency. So if we look at that general ed competency, I'm going to say that calculus will transfer in as calculus, plus it will also help to satisfy my basic math competency if this is a transfer student. So we can go ahead and say that that's done. Now that we have at least one equivalent course, approve appears in this menu. And in the interest of time, let's just say that the evaluator can approve it. Let's also throw in a nice little twist and say that this is for non-majors only. Math majors have to take the course. Again, I'm going to, this is coming right to me, so I don't need the email alert, but that would be best practice, and confirm. So that's back now in my queue. Let's go ahead and just switch back to my profile just so that we can see that. I'll go into my evaluations. We go to Community College of Rhode Island. So that's right here in the list. And here is that Math 2141 that we just got back. So that's the calculus one. I can scroll down. I can see tracking of everything that happened there as well. A couple other things that obviously would be important to show you within that, but I did just want to just show you this one piece. You can also send out reminders. There's no way to automate them, but this is a nice way to identify either by institution, by evaluation age, or both, who you want to send an email to. You can send all, or you can pick and choose who you want to send those to, and those will, you can send out those reminders there as well. There are a number of other features that I'd love to show you, but let's take some of the questions that we have here. We'll take the test question, most recent test question first, and then we have a couple of transferology ones. So that in order to get your equivalencies into tests, if I want to store equivalencies in tests, you have two different ways you can do that. One is you can manually build them, just like we just saw. I built a college algebra, we went through an evaluation, and we did the evaluation. And then at the end of that process, I can create an equivalency out of that. So you can manually enter your equivalencies into tests. If you have a significant number of equivalencies and a high level of confidence that they're all accurate, we can do an import for you. There's no way that you do your own import, but you are able to do an import. What you would do is you would provide us with a flat file, and this is the file layout that we would require. Institution code type, we can work with SEEP code, IPEDS ID, and OPE ID. You then identify the sending institution, you identify the sending institution courses, you identify your institution, and then the target institution courses for the equivalencies. We go through and validate that all of those courses were actual courses in the catalogs for those institutions. So there's a lot of validation that goes into this. There's a nominal fee for the import, typically at $600 to get those into tests. But if you do subscribe to Transferology as well, that fee is waived. So that is, you can either manually load or you can have us import. The import also has this interesting feature here, the hide flag. I would suggest to you that if you're thinking, we would like to store all our equivalencies in tests, but we need to clean them up first, this hide flag gives you the best of both worlds. You could do the import. We clean up a bunch of the broken that were never accurate equivalencies right off the top, and then you're able to address what's left in a fairly comfortable format. more comfortable, I would argue, than what you're working with in terms of a student information system. Just because if we take a look at this, you can see all of the details of the equivalency are just all on one screen, as opposed to going through multiple tabs or multiple blocks or other things like that. So just kind of an interesting thing there. You can also export. We'll stay here just for a second because that question just came in. You can export on demand anytime you like, no charge for this. This is your data. You can date range it. You can choose created or edited or both, public or hidden or both, a single institution or all of your institutions, and then up to 4 different identifier IDs. That creates a tab delimited flat file that you can copy into Excel if you wanted to work with that, or you can work with your technical resources and see if they can map that to your student information system. I will say right now, disclaimer, there is no built-in interface to any student information system in TES, nor do we have any plans to develop it. A couple of reasons, but the most important reason is we offer a degree audit at CollegeSource, so none of the student information system vendors are going to let us look at their back-end architecture because we are a direct competitor. A couple of questions now about transferology, and I'm going to, well, let's just see. We can set it to show up our only institution instead of the percentage match. If you subscribe to Transferology, we offer you a way to promote your school. So there's a hyperlink. There are also referral badges. If you're marketing or communications folks will allow you to have outside images. If not, you can just use the text one. And if a student clicks through into Transferology using this link, then when they search courses in search for matches in Transferology, it will filter just to your institution. It will still show the percentage match, but it will filter. Now, I will also say it filters the matches, but similar to the filter that you're seeing here, where I have filtered by favorites, they are going to be able to see an indication of what's hidden, and they do have a clear filters link, which is really, really tiny, and it's kind of intentional so that you can have them, but they will be able to see other matches. But you can filter it just to your institution initially so that they focus just on that. And then with one more question about the bundles. With the bundles in Transferology Lab, what this does is it allows you to create the profile of particular students. So here, for example, if you wanted to create different profiles for different students, you could have different profiles. I do have the, where is it? This might be the, nope, that's not the same one. I have a bundle that is similar to what we just looked at. So, no, that's just the Michigan State one. There we go, Introduction to Transferology, Transfer Student Demo. So this will have everything except for the 2 CCRI courses that we just added. So you can see all of those. So you can start to build profiles within those bundles. And then when you search for matches, as a staff member, you're going to be able to see everything that the student saw. So you are able to simulate that student experience. Another quick question here, can a student upload their transcript into Transferology? There is no document upload process into Transferology. In Transferology, they would have to manually build their profile unless they are coming from a school that has our degree audit. So if you are a UAchieve school, UAchieve is the CollegeSource degree audit, and you enable a student to pull in their coursework into Transferology, then those students are able to do that. But that's again, a very specific interaction between our degree audit clients and allowing those students to go. But if they're pulling those in, you're basically saying, we're going to help you transfer away from us. So that would most likely be more palatable to two-year institutions that might be looking to help their students move on. And then if you are a degree audit client of ours, then you can allow a student to run their courses against a program. Otherwise, you are able to add programs into TES either by building them or through import, and a student would be able at least to visually see what your program requirements are or what your transfer requirements might be, and then they could look at their equivalencies and try to match those up. It's not going to automatically do that evaluation for them, but they could visually take a look at that. All right, and then Herman, I'm not exactly sure what your question is. We have reached the end of our scheduled time here. So Herman, if you don't mind, I'll connect with you after this just to kind of see that fee for evaluation. I'm not exactly sure where you're going with that, so I would need some more clarification, but I do want to be respectful of the time that we have. We have reached the end of our scheduled time, so I wanted to hopefully not give Mike a heart attack and have him say, we've got to end, we've got to end. So
no, nothing like, if you do have time, that final transferology about an unofficial degree audit, we can do that one if you'd like.
So yeah, Herman, can you clarify that at all?
This is does transferology provide an unofficial degree audit for students?
So I did try to answer that one. You can do it. Yeah, if you have our degree audit, then you can run it against that, and they can do what ifs. They can pick different programs that they're interested in, see those. But if you're not using our degree audit, then you're not able to do that currently. We're working on an integration. We have a way that we can pull your equivalencies from PeopleSoft. If you're storing your equivalencies in PeopleSoft, you can pull those into Transferology. And I believe we're working on an audit connection back to those as well. And then our soon to be released UAchieve product will also have an integration between UAchieve and TES as well. So you could use that to find the course descriptions.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Yeah, and as you said, we're just over our time. Just want to thank everybody for joining, and I want to thank you for giving us this demo, John. It was really thorough and it was really helpful. And I saw that question about the recording. Yes, this is being recorded. You can use the same link you used to join this live session anywhere after about 30 minutes from now to watch the recording of it, and you can share that if you'd like. We'll be providing the recording to CollegeSource so that they can host it on their website in the future. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, with that, we'll close it out here. And just once again, thanks to John and thanks to all of you for attending.
Thank you.
All right, afternoon all, or morning-ish, depending on where you are.